Hi, guys. Thank you for joining. This is Essence of Life, and today we're going to be talking about the way different activities impact creativity. I'm Amanda Armagast.
And I'm Dr. Abbasi for Essence, and we have a special guest.
And
Please.
I'm Annabelle. You can call me Denise.
So, Denise, you're going to ask us a very interesting question. We went over the
Mhm.
questions just a few minutes ago. These are questions that neuroscientists have been struggling, not discovering, struggling for hundreds of years since we have had neuroscientists at all. They
Mhm.
are extremely important in how our brain works. And many true answers to those questions about how our brain works are still a mystery to all of us. But I want to know from you who you are and why are you interested in such a high level questions. Tell us a little about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Annabelle. You can call me Denise. I'm a 12th grade student at St. Ursula Senior High School in Jakarta, Indonesia. And I'm currently working on a research project about how light, repetitive, mindless activities like walking and showering can trigger generation of creative thoughts. And why I'm interested in this topic is because of an observation 1 or 2 months ago as I rise to be a senior in high school, where I've come to notice that like being a senior means, tons of pressure, like starting college applications, extracurriculars, exams, projects, etc. And the shift toward online learning and also rapid digitalization as Gen Z scholars. And I personally feel that said pressure and also the technology it squeezes my brain, my space for creativity. Not just that but from daily conversations with classmates, my friends, I see that a lot of us experience difficulty to generate a creative thought when we're given a situation where it becomes a task, like an assignment, rather than just like free thinking. So my friends and I noticed that a lot of our best thoughts often pop up when we're not forcing them, like when doing mindless stuff. So for my research, I'm trying to connect those like everyday experiences like washing the dishes, walking, showering with what neuroscience might tell us about how maybe certain brain states might enable creative insight.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, I'm proud of you considering those questions. And I'm a little sad and scared that another 12-year high schooler from Houston or Minneapolis asking me those questions, but somebody in Jakarta come up with those questions that are so crucial to who we are really as a person. Now, just overall 30,000 feet overview.
Mhm.
Everything that we are is our brain, our nervous
Mhm.
system.
I agree.
Literally, um, I can, somebody can lose their arms, hands, somebody can have somebody else's heart or
Mhm.
kidneys or liver. They're still the same person. But
Mhm.
what really makes us who we are is our nervous system, our brain, our to some degree as well, our peripheral nervous system.
Mhm.
And most of your questions are about how our consciousness works with the rest of our system. And
Mhm.
I have to explain few things. So then the answer to each of your individual question becomes much easier.
Mhm.
Um, what percentage of what's happening inside of your nervous system do you think you are aware of right now?
Honestly, I think less than 50%.
Amanda, what do you think?
I think even less than like 5, 10%.
What about 0.01%?
I would believe you.
Yeah,
So
I think that's possible.
like imagine Jakarta is a big city, right?
Hmm.
The city works just fine. When you drive from where you are to your high school or university, you just maneuver in certain part of the city, but even though you are just know a very small part of the city, the whole city have to work for your teacher to get to the high school, for the electricity to get to your high school, to
Mm.
water to get there. Even though you all know that you are going to your high school, a lots of things has to work. So that's actually scary how little we know about our own, like,
Yeah.
do you know that your hypothesis right now, one of the main, the glands in the middle of your brain, just based on
Mhm.
your smile, produces one hormone more or less. Did you know that? And that hormone goes and makes your another gland and above your kidneys produce another hormone more, cortisol, that in certain level it
Uh-huh.
cause you stress. Stress was one of those things that you're saying. So stress is a response that builds up in you by many system work, and you have no awareness of that, except that all of a sudden you feel anxious. That's all what you
Mm.
feel. The 50,000 other things that they came together to make you anxious, and then all of a sudden you notice there is a reason for you to anxious. There are lots of subtle things like the
Yeah.
temperature changes, or there's some voices from the bushes or an animal. All of a sudden, you, without you knowing,
Mhm.
your brain put you in a survival mode, and 9 out of 10 times there's a good reason for that that protects you, but
Mhm.
you're not aware of all of that. Or you go to a high school ball, you like somebody and you don't like somebody
Mhm.
naturally. I mean, takes literally 15 to 30 seconds for us to know if you like somebody or not. That I can just go on about how so many different hormones and pheromones and clues and things, you literally, your
Mhm.
immune system is involved in if you like somebody or not. We have a saying that I cannot, in Germany, you say, I cannot smell somebody. That means I don't like him. So literally,
Mm.
of smell make your brain work in certain way. So as long as you and I we can agree is less than 0.1% of the processes of your brain you have awareness of, then we can go to your
Wow.
question, and I will have to come back again and again and again. I have to come back as somebody who have studied the brain for so long. I have to come back and tell you we don't really know. Now, having said that, there are lots of things we do know, like how
Mhm.
stress works, how creativity works, and so on. You were talking about walking and so on. Almost every major scientist, I have read their biography. They like Einstein, like Richard Feynman, like
Mhm.
Wheeler, and so on. They would go late in the night, just walk. As a matter of fact, Feynman was, some people thought he's a spy for Russia because in the night he would just go and walk in the town. And people, he was in charge of Manhattan Process, where we built the atom bomb. He was not followed to see if he's just a regular crazy scientist or a spy and so on. So the
Well, and some really important scientists even came up with ideas in their dreams.
and even that will come as well. We'll talk as well about
Ah,
that. How the phases of dream is so involved in our creativity and so on. So, why don't we start with your question one at a time, and
sure.
understanding, agreeing that for everything we know, there are 10,000 things we don't know about how our brain really works. But let's start with your first question.
Okay. So my first question is, from your perspective, how do you think our brain produces creative thoughts? Which parts are crucial for ideation?
So we agreed that you are your brain. You're not
Mhm.
your eyes, your nose, your hands, a heart. You are your brain.
Brain.
The brain is made of about 200 billion neurons and about
Wow.
10 times more so called glia or supportive cell structure that, like, neurons are the transistors in your computer that do the talking. The other cells are what hold the transistor together,
Mhm.
feeds it, gives it energy, and so on and so forth. Now, but let's talk about you, Denise. Now, when you describe yourself, you're based on accumulation of memories, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So there is something inside of your brain that is able to take those memories and get the output input from your environment and make sense of it. Let's be simple, like language. You speak English. How comes that you speak so well English, by the way? Is that the natural language where you speak, or I know that it is not?
I just watch a lot of English TV shows since I was a kid.
So, okay, so you see that there?
Mhm.
You watch those, you compartmentalize those words, you see them how they are used. There's somewhere in your brain that puts that like word creativity has a meaning attached to it. And
Mm.
so you have a library inside of your brain. But a library is not you. The library is what you use to every new input, every new problem. That is who we are. As a human being, we are bad at almost everything except two things. First of it is thinking. The second of it, you know what it is?
Walking.
Walking. These are, as a human being, these are the only two things we are good at. A mouse is faster in running than an athlete, an Olympic athlete. Did you know that? That any cat can beat the fastest human in at anything, I mean, jumping and so on and so forth. But we are good at walking and we are good at thinking. So these are the two things that we solve our problem with, and that is how we got good at it. Like
Mm.
I'm talking about the walking, which you have a thing, the walking is that we use almost 90% of our energy from one step to another. No other animal can do that. The chimps or orangutans who are next to us, they can use only 30% of the energy of the last step to the next step. And another thing, but because we are so bad at everything, we have to compensate with the things we are good at, which is walking and thinking. What does that mean in thinking? When I ask you thinking or intelligence with a broader term, what is intelligent to you, Denise?
I think the ability to process information and
Yes,
yeah.
ability to process information and solve problem you haven't encountered yet. Because
Mm.
problem you have encountered or somebody taught you is a memory.
Yeah.
How do I change the battery of this computer mouse? That is a memory. But if you have never seen that, and then you still can go and change the battery of it, if you have no concept of this is something that has a battery and so on, but based on all the other information you have, you go and figure out, you push it down, you
How
take
to
that piece out and so on. That is intelligent, and we are really, really
mm.
good at it. So
Mm.
um, I want you to repeat, now that we talked about that, I want you to repeat the question one more time. I want to dissect your question. And even if you don't get to all your question today, I think it's important that we understand
Mhm.
the processes that leads to your question and the answer. Now that we talked about that, repeat your question one more time, please.
So how do you think our brain produces creative thoughts? Which
Okay.
parts are crucial for it?
Do you set that creative thoughts with intelligence, solving problems? Yeah. Do you set them equal? Is it
I
creativity,
would.
intelligence? Yes, yes, I agree with you. It is. So your question is, why are we intelligent? Why why can we do this? Because at certain point in human history, our limbic system start creating factual memory. Like a
Mm.
word is a memory, a sound is a memory, an action is a memory. The address of your high school is a memory.
Mm.
There's no way you can teach an elephant the address of your high school. The elephant may know where the high school is and it can find it from 1,000 miles away, but you cannot teach that elephant the address of the, but you can have factual memory. We have a part, very small part, it's actually tiny. It's called hippocampus. which is if I continue my finger about 5 centimeters in this direction, I hit it on both sides. That area takes our short time memory, which is miserable. Our short time memory is like, you would be scared to know how small our short term memory is. But every time we have this short term memory and we go sleep in the REM, REM, in the sleep phase, no, in the deep sleep phase 4, that short-term memory get encoded in long-term memory. So the short-term memory opens up for next day for the other things. And then you set that short-term memory in the long-term memory. Now, when you are in a situation that you have a problem, creativity, if we to discuss that, we are going to set it equal to intelligent. The creativity or intelligent is based on using historical information or memories and solving a problem that you have never encountered and finding out how you can use that, all the information you had to solve memories. Now, does it make sense now that if you have more memories or more relevant memories, you have more tools to give your intelligence a free space to work with?
Yeah.
So if you have read 100 books, you have a lot more memories
to
that
work
you can
with.
apply to your intelligence. But if you have, or if you speak 5 languages, then your brain has 5 ways of conceptualizing, and that's what we do. Our brain is a simulation machine. Like, if I touch Amanda like this right now, it is not no touching there. It's not just my brain conceptualizing that there's a pressure here, that in my brain there is a model of Amanda, and I touch Amanda's shoulder in that model. Our brain is a simulation. That's all what it is. I don't see you. I see the model of you in my brain. Now, we have all these models in our brain, what a computer mouse is, what Denise is, what a computer is, and so on. If you have more models in your brain, you're richer for it. You can literally solve more problems. And if you have less information to work with, like you didn't go to school, you didn't read books, there were no books available. You can be highly intelligent people. Your intelligence and your creativity will suffer. So
I'd like maybe be more creative about what you know about. Like, for example, if you grew up in rural India where they don't have school, you might be the most creative builder with different huts or, you know what I mean, farming.
art.
Yeah, and art.
Art is one of those things that it's, you don't need much memory. You do need like what color you use, what material you use, a clay or stone, and so on. But art is one of those areas, or music, is that compared to what in Western countries we call, that's why we diminish. In Western countries, we diminish the value of art, music, and so on. And we just highly bring up like value of hard fact, science, and so on. Because we come from a society that it's lots of information is available and so on. And if people come from other countries and they don't have the same number on the IQ like us, then we say, oh, they are not as intelligent as us, because we are measuring them on our scale, versus then there's lots of studies out there that when you put those kids, the intelligence is there. The database is not even empty. It's not just our database.
It's different stuff.
It's a different database. So now, for the last time, I want you to repeat the question, and I want you to answer the question. So go ahead.
So how do you think our brain produces creative thoughts?
What do you answer after
based-
all we talked about? What do you answer that question?
So based on what you said, our brain is like a simulation. It's a library. So with more information that we have, the more tools we have to work with, the more intelligent we can be. So
Or
yeah.
more intelligent we appear. to be.
We appear, yeah.
Because intelligence is again, or is our ability to use our library to create new solutions.
New solutions.
So you might be, that is where the nature of nurture versus nature comes from. There's a
Mm,
thing we say, is the person intelligent because of the genetic or because of the education? And the answer to that is always it has to be both. Meaning that you can be
mm,
a highly intelligent person, but if you don't have libraries filled with the memories, material that your intelligence can
yeah.
put to work. So creativity comes from um, filling that library education, and that education, I'm not referring to a systemic education. I'm referring to just hunger for knowledge, reading books,
Mm, mm, mm.
looking at the nature. Okay, like Charles Darwin was a good observant, and he would gather this stuff, and he would rely on his internal memory, but he would as well create an external memory. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he would collect all these finches and so on and so forth. So a person who goes to the woods and gathers mushrooms is uh, that is education. So, but that's not enough, because then you are just a library. But putting that to use, solving new problem, that become intelligent or creativity that you are talking about.
So you have to apply the knowledge that you have to
Acquire historical knowledge and apply them.
apply. Mm, got it.
Okay, next one.
Next one is, do you think there's a connection between teenagers' activities or activities in general and how the brain produces creative thoughts?
Okay. Um, you're practically asking me to, in one question, answer content of 500 books. You're talking about the developing brain. How developing brain is producing creativity, thoughts,
Mhm.
processes. Now, what is let's put it this way. Um, a baby is born just today. What can that baby do?
Cry.
And suckle.
Yeah.
Crying to get attention, so get food, and suckle to get the food. We don't see, we are blind, we are deaf by all things, by all criteria that we consider seeing and hearing. We cannot even coordinate our hands, or can
Hmm.
we? No, we can't.
No, I can't.
Have you seen a newborn baby?
No.
No? Go see
Well,
one.
I have, I
Because
have.
a lots of thinking, there's so much we can learn. There are some good stories that Marie Curie, um, he took her children as a thing. He would have a book about every developmental steps and so on, and lots of other scientists. It's interesting. A child development is so interesting. Now, you missed that part. You are just asking about the teenager, but there's a lot going on before that baby become a teenager. So,
Mm.
one of the reason the baby can do nothing is because that the brain is not myelinated. Do you know what that means?
I know myelin.
Yeah, well, myelin is a fat sheet around our neurons and around the axons that,
Yeah.
you remember we said when a human brain has 200 billion neuron.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, who do you think has more brain cells, a newborn baby or I? Or
You.
you?
Me.
Just the opposite. Just the
Really?
opposite. About 10 to 30% of those neurons has to die for us to become human.
Why?
Interesting question. So, why is when a gazelle is born, within 10 minutes, can stand up and jump and escape from the hyena, but when we human are born, we can only do suckle and cry because our brain is not myelinated. What does that mean? What that means is that you have is a lot more neurons. These neurons are just a mesh, a network, but the connection is not there yet.
Oh, okay.
For the connection to be completed, we need a structure, and as well, we need that this myelin goes around the axons, insulate them. It is like you're having all the electrical wire in a building, but you haven't insulated them. They all cross short circuit, and there's nothing can be done. But when we grow, these myelins or the glial cell, they go and make a myelin sheet like a spiral thing around the nerve, around the axons. In some areas, they leave it be. So the signal, instead of going continuously, it can jump from one to another. The runvious nodes, we call them, that the signal jumps. That makes the axon much more faster, much more efficient. The communication becomes when this myelin goes around. Now, our brain is mostly fat. Literally, when I open a human brain, and that is why most of animals, when they kill another animal, they love to eat the brain because it's fat. They love fat. Okay? 90%, 95% of our brain is fat, the myelin sheet. And that is why when the baby comes, can do nothing because it is most of the axons are not myelinated. They are not efficient. They are not effective. And with the time, they become effective, but as well, the connection start forming that my eyes know they start talking to certain part of the brain in the temporal horn, then relay the signal to another part in the back of the brain and so on. All of that are going to be built. Our intelligence is not even ready. We are not even ready to absorb that library we talked about. When we are born, when is the soonest memory, when is the oldest memory you got? How old were you?
I was 2.
Really? You remember you were 2? That's good. Amanda, what about you?
It was 2 or 3.
2 or 3. The soonest memory I remember, I was probably around 3 or 4. 4. And that is usually between 2 and 4 is where people start having that factual memory because the structure is now mature enough and the language is mature enough. The language is something that we are born with. If you put a bunch of kids on an island, they will develop their own language. But until that language develop, you cannot restore factual memory. There are lots of books, especially from Noam Chomsky, that you should read about that, about how language and intelligence are intertwined. Okay, well, then we have the language. Then we can start restoring actual memories. But there's a problem. How many words do you know when you are 4? Amanda, what do you think?
My first language was sign language.
Well, that's a language. But Denise, what do you think? How many words do you know when you're 4 or 5 years old?
Words 3.
No, you know more than that.
100, 200.
Around 400, 400 to 500 is not money.
Oh, when I was 2 years old, yeah.
No, I'm talking about 4 years old. 4 years old.
4?
You just start the process. With 4 years old, you know truly understand about 400 words, something like that. Okay?
Yeah.
But a fancy word like attaché, no 4 years old knows what attaché is.
Unless their parents are saying it a lot.
Yeah, but average. We're
Like
talking
I said,
about average.
His first word was vacuum. One of my brother's first words.
Yeah.
And that's a big word for a child.
Yeah. So
Vacuum.
what does that mean? Like, let's take the word attaché or military attaché. That's what is usually used. I mean, that is military attaché is a person like from one country that goes to another country, helps them to develop their military system. That's like military attaché or attaché means, okay? It's a
Yeah.
big word. I mean, who does need that? Our brain does something called chunking. What does that mean? Uh,
Grouping.
grouping of things. Like the telephone numbers in the United States are 3 numbers for area code, then literally 2 numbers, and then 4 numbers. No, three, four. Three numbers.
Social Security.
Yeah, yeah. 3 numbers, 4 numbers. How are telephone numbers in Indonesia? How are they like organized? Area code.
Honestly, we're never taught that. Like, I don't know.
Okay, well, let me tell you, in the United States, we made really science of it. The way we create license plates, telephone numbers, social security numbers, we are making it that people can memorize it because we know our brain works with 3 things at a time. That's how little our brain can work with. We call that chunking, and that comes as well in neuroscience and so on. Our brain cannot take more than 3 things. But what do we do now? We create words that has more meaning than 10 words become 1 word. Our brain cannot work with 12 words. But if we take 10 of those words, create a new word with a new meaning, then all of a sudden, then those 10 words become one part of the chunk. And then once our words are more meaningful, more in depth, we can conceptualize a lots of different ideas much more. And that is what it comes with the age. A 4-year-old can 400 words. And then eventually we know 5,000 words, then we know 10,000 words, but then those words have more meanings into them. Like uh, 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 maybe a 5-year-old only understand anger, sad, hungry. Happy, okay. But when you get to Amanda's, you have probably 150 words to describe your feelings, and 90 of them are known to me.
It's called emotional intelligence.
Yeah, and that is part of the intelligence. But that doesn't happen only to the feeling. That happens as well, like to everything out there. Like they say,
like Inuits and how many words they have for snow.
for different, because
Different
it has
types of
different kind of snow, different meaning of it, and so on. So let's come back to the teenager. Okay, the teenager, what you're referring to, they're by body things, they're adults, but the brain is still not what we consider adult, because in most of cultures we consider people after 18, in some societies even later, we consider them adult. But you're referring to teenager, I'm assuming before they are 18. Is that what you're referring to? Like
Yeah.
12 to 18, something like that. So
Yeah.
they have gone through the school, and that is what school does. We pump in them those chunks, those words, those concepts that when we communicate with them, we know that they understand the same. Some never do, but most of people learn that when you use this word, this is the overall concept of that word. And so teenagers have been pumped with all those words. They have something that adults unfortunately lose. And there is a reason adults lose that. Now, let me give you an example. Imagine I'm a car mechanic and I fix the cars in a certain way and so on and so forth. And I have a concept of how to fix a car. And I'm good at it. That's what we want. You want to get your car to somebody who's good at it. But that's not intelligent. That's mostly memory. Now imagine a car comes that is completely different concept, like the electric car, and the car mechanic has never seen that. You put a teenage brain that doesn't know how a car works. That teenage brain is open for any way a car can work. A teenage brain has the concepts and uses the intelligence or creativity to solve the problem of electric car. Old mechanic brain is memory based. It only know how a combustion engine works. Now all of a sudden, if you give a electric engine, is at loss. So the creativity is much higher in a brain that has the concepts but is not literally clogged in with lots of I would say historical facts and education that we know it's just going to be over, it's going to be old in no time. So you just have to. This is, I think that like Finland. In Finland, that's what they do. They try to keep your brain as long teenager as possible. Give it opportunities, give it options. Whereas in some other cultures, like German, they just want to memorize the fact, and then they clog your brain, and that sort of steals your, or even Eastern, lots of Eastern cultures, Japan, China. China is changing a lot. But they don't want to clog your brain with facts. They want to just teach you how to get the information. So, developing brain, intelligent that is based on chunking, understanding new meaning, new words, new concepts, and it's not clogged like an adult brain with lots of junk that is not like really not relevant anymore. Now, I want you again to ask that question number 2 one more time. And even if you don't get to all your questions, I think it's important that we just don't brush over those questions, that we understand those questions, answer that. Now, repeat the question and tell me how you would answer your second question.
Okay, so do you think there's a connection between teenagers' activities and how the brain produces creative thoughts? So based on what you said, teenager's brain is like in the developing stage where we're not clogged with like junk facts and things, and we're always learning.
Your ability to learn is your plus, your superpower. You're not. Have you heard that term? You cannot teach old dogs new tricks. Have you heard that term?
Yeah,
Amanda,
I've heard that term.
Amanda, what does that mean when we say you cannot teach old dog new tricks?
Old dogs get set in their ways.
It refers to people, old people like me, that that young people cannot teach them new things. Like if I hit your leg, then quit talking.
I'm not saying quit talking. And wrap it up.
But there are few things. They cannot be wrapped up there. So the answer to your question, and you're referring to teenager because you are yourself a teenager. You want to know how you put your creativity to the best use. Do I understand the core of your question is about how does a teenager put their creativity to the best use? Is that?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the answer to that is don't be blindsided by pure fact. Let your do things that you don't think they are going to help you right away. Go do different things that you have never done that before. Because like when when you drive from here to your home, how many cars do you remember that you see along the way?
Mostly none.
They're meaningless to you. So if you just keep doing repetitive things, your brain doesn't learn anything new. But imagine instead of driving, you bike. You will remember a lot more if you bike because that's not what you usually do. So, the best advice I have for a young brain like yours, accumulate experiences. That experiences could be you go do pottery, you go to a new place, you go traveling. That is what I think is a huge thing that you see that the young people love to travel. Like,
Yeah.
how many new experience did you get when just we went last time to India?
Quite a few.
How much of that do you remember?
A lot.
A lot, contrary to all the routine thing you do.
Like, yeah.
Now, all of a sudden, those chunks are in your brain that you can make a plate out of leaf, or it is possible that you like good or bad, that it's possible that you just touch an object and you get sick for 2 weeks. So these are information, all of that makes your brain more valuable. Eventually, we get so in our routine because we just want to make money, we quit gathering new
But
experiences.
don't you think another part of the question is you have to use your creativity?
Yes, yes. I mean, if you don't use it or lose it, yeah, absolutely. So what that mean is, and that's something what we wanted to do. Now, teach people to have more hobbies.
Mhm.
Have
So creativity is limitless.
it is
Limitless.
it is limitless. It is limitless, and as well is one of those things that and there is a meaning to that. You remember we talked about how many neurons do you have versus how many you had when you were a child, and I told you
Mhm.
30% of our neurons die for our brain to become functional.
Yeah.
But we know as a matter of fact, there are two factors, not only the number of the neurons, even more important, how many connection those neurons have to other neurons. Do you know what we
Mm.
call them? Those connection between two neurons? We call them synapses.
Yeah.
This is when two neurons are talking to each other. The number of the synapses are even more important for our human function intelligence than just the pure number of the neurons. Now,
Okay.
this is a fact. If you gather new experience, you have more synapses, more connection. If you have more connection with the aging, then we lose those, literally, we lose those synapses and the neurons. But if you have a lot of experience, you have a lot more synapses, and if these neurons are used, they survive. The neurons that are not used, they die.
Die.
Let me give you a crazy example. Imagine you put somebody in something like that can happen, like tumor or something, that the ear is not able to gather voices or noises or sound.
Mhm.
Okay? That part of the brain that respond to sound dies, and you can never recover that ever again. If it happens as a child, but if it happens after you're an adult, that part still exists. What that means that if you put your brain at more experiences and activities, you have more neurons, you have more synapses, and you can keep it for much longer. You can be more, your dementia rate goes lower because you have more synapses to start with, and it can
Mm.
much longer. Okay, let's go to the third question.
Okay. So the third question is, have you ever encountered research or clinical observations that explain how different brain networks like the DMN functions for
No,
creativity?
yeah, well, I'm not familiar with that DMN function, but if you're asking if you have evidence, clinical and research and scientific evidence, that the creativity has a huge relationship to what we do in life, how we develop the brain, how we
Mm.
educate our children, how your lifestyle is,
Mm.
there is there's tremendous amount of evidence. How much you're exposed as a child influence the level of your creativity and problem solving intelligence. We talked about that. It's same for me. It's the same. Creativity and intelligence are the same, and
Mhm.
it has many levels. Contrary to some people who just think this factual intelligence that, or we call it, what we call it intelligent. Now, for the many years now, we know that there's something called emotional intelligence.
IQ and EQ.
Yeah, but the idea of EQ is a new concept. For hundreds of years, we've neglected that. So, if the question is that, do we have evidence that certain kind of upbringing, education, exposure influence your intelligence? That's not even a question. That is, yes, there's a lot of, it starts with you give your children just a simple toy, or you give your children something like Lego or something that they have to put together, And then you measure them, how they literally go through the intelligence test. You see, in intelligence tests, in most of them, at least in Western societies, you have these forms that you have to turn them, change them, and then decide which one is the same and which one is not. So if you expose your children to games that they have to put to themselves together versus it is just something that, and that is one of the travesties of our Western societies. We give children dolls that they don't have many forms, and then we give the boys that Lego or things that they have to put
But maybe
together.
the dolls are teaching children emotional intelligence.
They do, but we don't measure that in our IQs. In no IQ test, there's a question about literally how there are five people together. One of them is sad, one of them is that. How do you react to that? We don't measure that, or do you? Do we?
No.
No. What do we measure? We keep them. We give them five forms. We turn one. We say which one is the same, and then we are surprised that the girls are worse than the boys and that because we never taught them that. We just taught them other things that we don't measure in our SATs and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? Okay.
Okay. Continuing with the fourth one. From your experience, do you notice significant differences in teen brain activity, specifically cognitive skills, compared to studying adults?
Do you think we answered that question already?
Yeah.
Yes, we
What do you,
did.
what do you think the answer, like, what would you say the answer is based on all of the conversation so far?
I think there's a significant difference since teen brain activity is more active. We learn more, we apply creativity more, and adults, their brain is kind of like already clogged and like we can't
No,
change
okay.
anything.
Let me tell you, even though I did use the word clogged and so on, um, if you want to somebody go and do brain surgery on you, do you want to go to a teenager or do you want to go to somebody who's 60 years old and has done it? His brain is clogged with all the knowledge how to do brain surgery. Which one do you want to go to?
Of course, the 60-year-old.
Of course, the 60 years. So you see that our society runs because those 60-year-old, they know how to make things work. So their clogged brain has a function.
That gives me a question for you, actually.
Mhm.
Would you rather have brain surgery on a like you're not the surgeon, you're the patient, and the surgeon is either a 60-year-old private practice or, working at a hospital, or a 60-year-old who has a lot of residents and is surrounded by young people?
No, that is a very individual thing because you can be, you see, they say wisdom comes with age, but sometimes age comes alone. What that means is that just because you're old and just because you're in the university doesn't mean you have no, especially surgery, it's a lot more than just intellectual things. That's all about handiwork. Let's put it this way. I'm going to answer your question.
Would you see what I'm asking?
Yes, I see what you're asking, but I'm just going to tell you, your question has a lot more facets, a lot more sides than what you're just asking. It's not just that. Now, I always, for a thing that is a common problem, like a general brain tumor or appendectomy and so on, I always go to a private practitioner because they have a higher volume. They're clogged more with the same repetitive things. They're just good at it. The same way you drive from here to home, save thousand. You don't even remember. It's just a
Yeah.
muscle memory for you.
Yeah.
I will go to that. But if I come to something that is new, nobody ever have dealt with that, then I go more toward that university surrounded by young people, but he still have experience. It's not a 16-year-old teenager is going to do my surgery. So if it is something new, like a disease that only 5 people on the planet have, I will go toward the people who still have kept their creativity that we consider those university and young people are.
Yeah.
But if it's something that is very routine, I'm going to go with that private practitioner that is clogged to the end. There's nothing new there. I
Yeah.
don't need anything
The
new.
old
When
dog,
there are-
no new tricks. He's perfected his tricks.
He's had perfected his
Mm.
trick. So, but you see, by going over the basics, we already answered that question for you
Yeah.
already. Okay, next one.
Okay. Which type of activities do you think like can light up creativity the most?
Okay. Do you remember our first thing we talked about, that you are aware of less than 0.1% of anything that goes inside of your body or brain?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we talked about what creativity is.
Hmm.
Creativity is you take the old memories, you combine with your intelligence and come with a new solution that didn't exist before. What you need for that, you need the library, but then you need your intelligence to use that library to do that. Now, if we look at the history, we see a lot of writers, like, I don't know if you know who Jack London is, that between his books, he wrote a lot of good books and he was very famous. Between his books, he would go and work on the mine because he needed that meaningless corporal work to free up. So give a pause, give a rest to his always working brain. And I have as well noted that, do you go do you go sometimes watch meaningless movies or shows because you just want to have a break for your brain?
Yeah, I do that a lot.
Everybody does it, right? Everybody. What is your meaningless the show that you just watch to kill the time and give your brain a rest? What is that?
I always come back to Friends, the
Friends? So
yeah,
mine was,
sitcom.
yeah, it's sitcom. That's why sitcom exists, because everybody needs that. Mine was a show that's called Trailer Park Boys. It is the dumbest thing you can ever see, and
Stupid funny.
it is. It's stupid. Is there's stupid, and then there is trailer.
Idiotic. Like
Yeah, like so. But my brain sometimes need that to get a rest. Okay. Now, sometimes as well, this is one thing that your brain need to pause, not sleeping, because when you sleep, your brain's still working. As a matter of fact, dreams, in the REM sleep dreams, your brain is simulating new things. In the phase 4 deep sleep, it's encoding short-term memory and long-term memory. In the REM sleep, your brain is simulating, like, today I had a surgery that was a little different than the others. When I was in the early morning, when you have more REM sleep, I was doing that surgery in my sleep. It happens often to surgeons, you know. So my brain is simulating something that is of actual use to me. So sleep is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about truly giving your brain a rest, like watching one of those sitcoms, so that your brain just relaxes. It doesn't try to combine all area of your brain to solve a problem. It is like a muscle that needs not to be used.
so is taking a walk or a shower like giving your brain a rest?
A
Or
rest,
do you
yeah.
really
Depending
need
on what
something
you
to
do that for. Like if you go there, now one of the part that sitcom are always funny, aren't they?
Yeah.
and they're always short. They're
Funny and short. Yes, yes. So if you go for that walk and it's really fun to you, yes, that it is. But if you force somebody to come with you who has no fun doing that, and just when walking, it's still working on the brain, or even like, what's that mushroom? Is that going to kill me? What is that branch? Is it going to fall on my head and crush me and so on?
Well, just so you know, none of the mushrooms here are going to kill you.
So, well, I think we are talking about our memories and so on. So, what I'm getting at is that you need to give your brain a rest. And if what something you do, whatever activity it is feel like a fun to you,
Mm.
feels like a non-memorable fun to you. That is when your brain is like a muscle getting a rest. Now, having said that, there's a huge body of evidence that when you let your body, your muscles, you do certain activity, some people are able to then separate their mind from their body.
Like yoga.
Yoga is actually where you combine your mind and body and you put them really at the good place. No, I'm talking about like some people come with the best thoughts when they're walking or when they're boxing or when they're jogging. And so jogging is not, they get addicted to it. It's not fun for them. It is just like, see, this is not what I'm talking about. But that could be a situation as well that your creativity goes, you need both. You need episodes when your brain get a rest, then you need those situation when the brain is using all the um, activities, capacity it has, and sometimes for that it helps that you do something very routine like jogging or walking or boxing or creating something that it is like a muscle memory to you that reduces part of your brain the input on your creativity so that your creativity becomes the main focus. Okay, so it is way more complex than just saying it that way, but you need the rest and you need those and those activities that you're talking about can be part of the rest, but as well you need those episodes of acute concentration, and certain activity can as well help you with that. So
But when we're resting, like for example, Einstein's walks, how can like suddenly an idea pop up? Like something that, for example, an art project I recently got tasked with, we're supposed to create a projection of an object, like whatever object. And like I was like so confused during the art period. And then I brought the assignment back home and I was like, I'm just taking a shower and I'm not like thinking, but I thought of an idea, thought of an object that I think, wow, this is a really good idea. How can that happen when my brain is resting
okay,
compared to
well,
when it's like,
when
yeah.
your brain is not, that's actually a very good question. Let me explain to you. It actually makes sense if you understand the concept. Imagine brain is like a tree.
Mhm.
There are lots of branches. When you're working really, really hard, you're on one part of that branch, you're way on the canopy, you're in one area, you're working on that, you're concentrating on that. Sometimes the real solution to your problem is on the ass completely on the other side. When you are working hard on it, you're so concentrated that you're walling off on purpose, your brain is walling off all the knowledge from other areas. Like um, I speak four languages, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm not right, but I speak four languages because I'm born with two and then I learn two and so on and so forth. Now, I'm working on something and I'm walling off, and my whole thoughts are in English. My everything, and because that problem I encountered in my school, med school here, that's all I'm thinking about. When I relax, I remember something that is in my German part of the brain. That, yeah, that professor then told us something about that, but I'm so compartmentalized that I'm right under canopy on one part. When I relax, I look into other branches, in other canopies, in other areas, and all of a sudden I find the solution where is not in my the tunnel vision, it's outside of it. And 9 out of 10 times, combining the information give you the solution. So that is why when you relax, all of a sudden you bring part of your brain to the action, part of your memories to the action that actually gives you the actual solution.
Mm.
That makes sense?
Yeah, got it.
Okay.
Okay, next one. Do you think that stress affect creativity and cognitive performance?
That comes to first we have to understand what stress is. Amanda, what's
For
stress?
ex
Of the physiological reaction.
Yeah, what
Like
when you hear the word stress, what do you what?
when I hear the word stress, I definitely think of a different thing than you, but I think you're referring to like your stomach and stuff and like the blood being further away from your skin.
Okay. So, Denise, what do you think when you use the word stress? Define it for me.
For me in this context, it's like the pressure of, let's say, exams, tests, projects that 12th grade students usually experience, like that type of pressure that creates
Yeah.
like stress.
So let's first come up with some concept. Is stress a good thing or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing.
Like a
Amanda, what do you think?
necessary evil. You need to have stress, but too much stress is not good.
Yeah.
Like you need to have it to encourage you, but I think like for me personally, if I'm too stressed out, sometimes it makes me less encouraged and it might make me shut down.
So let me talk to you. Stress, as you said, is a necessary evil, and no, it is a physiological reaction. If it wasn't for stress, it wouldn't be a human, it wouldn't be a mammal, it wouldn't be a life move beyond, it wouldn't be life at all. Even a one cell organism, they have stress. As a matter of fact, there is a stress test for one cell organism. You he bring it temperature up above 43 degrees Celsius, you stress them, then you can measure certain biochemical structure in them that say they are stressed. And then there are molecules in our body that they are literally go and repair those other things. They are stress, uh, like biochemistry that goes and repair that. So in our body, there is something that goes and repair our body when our body is damaged from the stress. Do you know what that hormone is? Cortisone. Have you
Mm.
heard of that hormone?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
So when we want to know if somebody's in stress out, we measure cortisone, and then we say, oh, cortisone is high, cortisone is bad thing, it's causing stress. No, cortisone is the hormone that goes actually repairs all the bad consequence of stress. What is stress? Well, let me tell you, you are now a gazelle on the savannas in Tanzania, and the tiger or the cheetah is looking at you, and you notice the cheetah is lurking for you in about 200 meters or so. You're the gazelle. What do you feel? Your heart start
Anxious.
pumping.
Yeah.
Your heart rate goes up. Your blood pressure goes up. Your visual acuity get better. Your eyes get
Your
more
digestive system.
shuts down. Literally, if you're a real gazelle, the real gazelle, they empty their bowels and bladder, so they're lighter. They don't have to deal with them. Literally, you are stressed. So, and what else happens when your brain gets a lot of blood? Your muscle gets a lot of blood. That's all we call stress reaction, because you're preparing for something. What are you preparing for?
Survival.
Fight or flight. Well, between gazelle and the cheetah is not much fight. It is flight or
Hey, it depends on the size of the pack.
gazelles, they don't work in packs.
Yeah, but aren't they in groups? And then if there's more in the group, you're less likely to die.
Well, if they're more in group,
They're in herds.
you just have to be faster than the slowest
That's what I'm
person.
saying.
Yeah.
Depends on the size of your herd.
So that's how you roll. Huh? That if you're with me somewhere, you just have to be faster than me, not faster than the bear. Huh? So fight or flight response. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Okay, it is that when you're in a stressful situation, you either have to decide. As a matter of fact, there is a formula to that. You have to decide if you're going to fight or you're going to escape.
I think they call it something else now. Fight, flight, or something else with an F, but it's like stay still.
Meditate. I don't know.
No, they call it fight, flight, or something else, which is like stay still.
Well, that's what the possums do.
Oh,
Okay.
freeze.
Freeze,
Fight or
yeah.
freeze.
Fight,
Yeah.
flight, or freeze. Some like if freeze, you have no reaction. You're
Now, that freeze reaction actually physiologically is so, if you are done, that there is nature doesn't want to torture you. If you're done, you cannot fight a cheetah, and your broken leg, you cannot fly, you cannot escape away. Your body shuts down, so you don't have to suffer. Okay, now naturally, nature tries everything. Some cheetah, look at that, that's a dead animal. How long has it been dead? I don't want to eat a dead animal.
like a black bear or a
Yeah.
grizzly bear.
So what that means is that nature found out that even though that was made for, okay, just give up, be done. Oh, that might have a positive response. So it kept it in place. But fight or flight, that is a stress. But all of that happens within minutes.
Hmm.
Now imagine we are human, that stress reaction is an exam you have in 2 months from now, and that is not 5 minutes anymore. It is 2 months of that high level of alertness, anxiety, and so on and so forth. So something that is survival, it's so good, becomes a chronic situation, and our body is not made for that. Our body is made to escape, then be happy again. Life was good because we would live until 5 minutes before we would die. Then we would die, then it will be all over.
Now you're dying for like 10 years.
Now you're dying for exactly 10 years, and your body going through that stress reaction that is nature is what's supposed to be just for 5 minutes or so. Okay?
Hmm.
In 5 minutes, either you're done with the stress, you're in a safe place, or you're dead. And now you're not. Your grades are low. Your entire future is destroyed because of that, and so on. And there's no coping mechanism. Nobody really helps you to get you out of that place, and it become a cascade of. So now that we know what stress is, now repeat your question.
Do you think that stress affect creativity and cognitive performance?
Okay, now dissect that stress to one part, which is natural survival thing, and the other part that is bastardized, human made chronic stress. And then you will see the answers to those things are very different. You remember,
Hmm.
you are the gazelle, you see the cheetah. What happens to you right now? Your eyes become sharper. You see better. Your brain start working more precise. Times, have you been in a stressful situation?
Yeah, a lot.
Acute. Your time slows down. That's a physiological reaction, actually. The time slows down because your brain starts working faster. That's what it is.
Hmm.
You have, imagine you have 5 seconds before accident happen, or you have half an hour before accident happen. You're much more, you're much more likely to survive by, but in nature, we cannot really make 5 seconds to be half an hour. But our brain, by working faster, can do that. So,
Hmm.
what do you think the answer to that question?
I think if the stress is like not man-made, then we can be more creative because our brain works faster. Like we connect more things. But if it's like man-made pressure, it can block the
I wouldn't
creativity.
call it necessarily man-made. I would say short episode of stress is good for you. No, it's literally good for you.
Hmm.
Long
But
episode of
long.
stress is always damaging and negative in almost any aspect of our lives.
Got it.
And but short is what our physiology is made to deal with. Long
Hmm.
is it is man-made, but it is not really the point. The point is that our body cannot deal with a long-lasting episode of high cortisol level and anxiety and everything that goes with it. So let's move to the next question. How much time do we have?
23.
Okay, we have about 20 minute time. So which question do you think is you prefer to ask for the next, maybe two more questions?
Honestly, I think everything is already answered.
You see that there? That
Yeah.
happens when you go systematically, lay down the stage, and then many of those questions you will see they are repetitive. They are the different variation, different chunking of the same concept.
Hmm.
Okay. Amanda, do you have anything to add? Any question?
I think based on the last question, sometimes long-term stress can actually help our creativity in certain ways. Because if you're having the same problem for 3 months or a year, the stress that you're under might force you to look at things differently.
If you
And
cope with the
if
stress.
you cope with it, if you have coping skills, which maybe you can talk about some coping skills since we do have the time. But I think that having long-term stress can help you look at things differently and maybe help you to give a creative solution to that
So,
situation.
and the difference between, stress destroying you or you use the stress in a positive way is as well literally how you cope, how you manage the stress. Now, the short time stress is not a problem.
You get over it.
We get over it because now, but you see you're the gazelle again. You see the cheetah, you escape, but then you are somewhere, you're completely safe, but your mind is still where the cheetah was. You cannot get over it. Your heart rate is still high.
Which
Your
is, I think that's the kind of
blood
stress
pressure.
that humans face a lot.
Yes. Animals don't deal. Now, there is go to YouTube, watch a video of a cow being branded. Just watch it. But watch a video that the cow get branded, literally a glowing piece of iron goes to the cow start yelling, ooh, and then see what happens to that cow. Walks, stand up, walks, goes 10 steps and start grazing.
That's also a different topic, but how we process pain versus how animals process pain.
That is exactly the point. That's exactly the point. See, the pain, chronic pain is a human thing. For animal, it's the stress. I got branded. I have to get away from it. I do everything, but now it's gone. My mind is gone. But that is the same mechanism that we human, we keep that memories.
The emotional attachment to the pain.
Is the emotional response to the pain. And we know those loops in our brain. We know, as a matter of fact, one of the procedures I used to do with Dr. Nata, with my teacher, is that we go literally burn part of the brain that disrupts that circle of Labbé, we call it. In the anterior gyrus and in the anterior cingulus gyrus, we put a hole there that we interrupt that loop, meaning that they get the pain, but they don't get the emotional response to the pain. So coming back to that, how do we now the gazelle doesn't do that, but I bet you would do that. If a cheetah would attack you, you wouldn't just get over it. You for weeks and months
Yeah.
would be an anxiety. You would wake up in
You'd be always looking over your shoulder for the
Yeah.
next cheetah.
Yeah.
yeah. You see that there, that episodic memory that we are able to produce has a good side. It made us human, but as well has the same effect that we don't get over those stressful responses as fast as we should.
Will it
Sometimes,
ever go away?
yes, that's where Amanda, I think, can help you with coping mechanism for. So, how do we cope with those situations?
I think that the best way to cope with stress is using your creativity or finding ways to use your creativity. So trying something new,
Something fun.
something fun, like for example, looking up a quick 2-hour event that's happening over the weekend and just going to that, or finding other hobbies that like artistic hobbies. And art isn't just painting or clay. Art can be using your body in different ways. Dancing is art.
Yoga.
Yep, music is art. There's so many different, even I'm starting to think that coding and different types of computer programming type things are art.
Okay, you remember we talked about do something that you give imagine your brain is a muscle, do something that gives that muscle a rest. It might be
Oh,
the sitcom. It might be something that a book you read. It might be dancing or yoga. It might be meditation and so on.
or talking to your friends and talking through the situation.
And that as well, creating a safe environment that you know that the cheetah is not there, is not going to be there. And the only thing that prevents you to get over it is you yourself. Giving that always working mind a rest. So yes, you can get over it. But it's a it you know people go to school tens of years to exactly help other people with that. We call them psychiatrists, psychologists, and
Therapist.
behavioral therapists, and so on and so forth. So it is a big deal for us to get over it. And my advice to every teenager is that there is professional, those people who are clogged their mind. Some of those are people who have learned over tens of years how to help young people like yourself to get over those episodes. So always ask for help. This is my advice.
And never stop finding new hobbies because as an adult, it's really hard to keep them up. So you need to start when you're a teenager, accumulating these things that you know you like. So when your life gets extremely busy and high pressure, you can fall back on them.
And you have more than one choice. Imagine you just can paint. God forbid you have an accident, you don't have arms. You can't paint anymore. Then if painting is all you got is your life, you don't have arms, your life is done. But imagine you have 50 other hobbies that you can fall back on. That's what Amanda, I believe, is referring to. So gather experience, hobbies, and I think what we know from Finnish or education system from Finland, if you make things fun, it's not just the empty word. Not only things start, you retain more. Literally, you retain more of if things are fun, but as well, your brain absorbs them in a stress-free environment.
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you so much, Denise. It was great talking to you.
Likewise.
Okay. Well, let me know let us know how your school assignment goes. Okay.
Thank you guys for watching. This was Essence of Life, and we talked about how stress impacts our life. I'm Amanda Armagast.
And this is Dr. Abbasi for Essence, but especially how does it affect a growing, developing mind?
Exactly.
Okay. Well, thank you.